Could it be?
All right, so we're gonna do the video portion of this. This is my sister Brandy. This is my brother Alex. My wife is leaving the room because she doesn't want to be on the podcast. But we're gonna do an audio version of this and a video. So I'm trying to get this going, and stick with us. We're gonna keep doing this. So I may edit this. You guys just stay still. All right. So on the recording part, I want to do an intro. This is episode 19, and today is the 17th. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Stuff I Heard podcast with Josh Peak. This is episode 19, and today is Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. My brother is here in town. Say hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Alex is here to get a tattoo.
Yay!
And of course, while he's in town, he came by to visit our sister. My sister Brandy's here with us. Say hey, Brandy.
Hi.
And Brandy's here to kind of help lead Alex down the dark path towards tattooing. And
Well, it's not just leading me down. I mean, this will be just an addition to the tattoos I already have.
so it's like a continuation of sorts. I mean, I can honestly say she's probably the reason that I went to get a tattoo the first time. Our grandmother had passed away, and I was not doing well with it. And I called her one day and I said, "Hey, I want a tattoo." And she's like, "When?" And I was like, "Now." And she says, "Let's go." And she got in touch with our local guy, and we went and saw him and hung out and talked to him for a bit. And he's like, "I'm in." And that's, if you're watching the video portion of it, that's where I got this one. So that was the beginning. And I got mine, and then it led to more. I had 5 within a year, and then my wife was like, we were dating at the time. Shh. My wife was like, "How many are you going to get?" And I was like, "I don't know." She's like, "Well, I need to know because I'm kind of on board with this." And that was the first time I knew she was on board with me. So anyway, Brandy has how many tattoos now?
I don't know, a couple.
A couple. And
13, 14?
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
up to.
Several. I have several.
yeah, multiple.
I'm up to 4. This will be like a 5th / combination
Should we
of
count?
sorts.
Nah, it doesn't matter. The whole purpose of this, though, is just kind of give everybody context to what we're doing here, why you're in town and whatnot. For people watching the live version on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel called Stuff I Heard. You can see my brother now, who's lost over 80 pounds since Christmas time. At Christmas time, he was up over 300 pounds, and doing this keto diet, he has lost quite a bit. Not only keto, but also lots of cardio. And you've done great, man. You look super.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you
Really, really super.
It's been a great journey.
It was really nice. I hugged him today, and my hands overlapped.
Wow.
It was lovely.
I haven't hugged him yet.
You should hug him.
Well,
Hug your brother.
Don't make it weird. So anyway, this is not that
I made
podcast.
it
That's a
weird.
Pete Holmes podcast.
Oh, shots.
Wow.
That was good, right?
That was nice.
It's gonna be like that. We're gonna need more.
That was such a quick segue.
We have
Bang,
bourbon.
bang.
Okay, so we're all drinking, by the way. This is a drinking
Cheers.
podcast. If you're drinking at home, please join along. Love you guys. All right. So, part of the joy of this is to get to hang out with my brother and my sister, but also we get to kind of do whatever we want because there is no rules. We've been talking a lot about the keto. We've been talking a lot about how I've been doing it since May 1st, and I've lost 20 pounds. And I'm sticking with it. My sister's been trying it out. My brother's been doing it.
3 weeks and 10 pounds?
She's lost
10 pounds
10
in 3
pounds
weeks.
in 3 weeks.
And I'm not doing it as strenuously as the two of you are.
Right. So, we're just kind of, looking at our regular diets and realizing that carbs were getting the better of us. You were talking earlier about how during World War II there was a whole issue with famine and
Right,
Kellogg's.
so if our generation goes back and we look at our grandparents, we ask our grandparents what they had for breakfast, just as an example, they would say eggs and bacon. Because for centuries, for millennia, our normal diet has been I guess you would call like a chase down diet. We have always been hunters, and we have roamed and we have stalked for our food, and that in the modern era has come down to we breed chickens, they lay eggs, we eat those eggs, we harvest pigs, we make bacon. It was a great breakfast, right?
Yeah.
We had high protein, high healthy fats, and that was what we had, but it was all so pure. And then there was a time where we thought there might be a global famine or a starvation because we were in our Second World War. We were in the Second Great War. Obviously, they didn't call it World War II at that point. And so we needed to figure out a way to feed the masses in such a way that it was easy and financially beneficial for all governments. So a man by the name of Clark Kellogg, I'm sure you've all heard of Kellogg cereal. And if you haven't ever watched the What's with Wheat documentary, it's on Netflix. It's a fantastic documentary. But this man, genius that he was, figured out a way to get a higher wheat yield in a smaller area. He took a 7-foot stalk that only yielded about a foot of wheat into a 5-foot stalk that yielded 5 feet of wheat.
Wow.
And by doing this, he created, what we now know as the typical diet or the typical standard American grain diet, where we have higher wheat, and now the diet became skim milk and cornflakes. And if you ask our parents, that was the norm for breakfast, skim milk and cornflakes. But the problem with that is that our wheat that we are now creating, that we have now created over the last 60 years, is unnatural. And it becomes so processed and so jaded that now the traces of real wheat is so minimal, it's all processed sugars pumped in. And that's where the standard American diet has come in and really kind of ruined some lives and caused a bump in insulin, caused a bump in diabetic numbers, and all kinds of different diseases. So,
well, one of our concerns also is, like, our mom's got rheumatoid arthritis, and of course that all has to do with inflammation and the fact that your body decides that the cartilage that's in its system is now a disease and it wants to attack the cartilage in your system. And I remember talking to her about the fact of you're on this diet, and I said, if you looked into this, I said, I think taking off some weight's going to help, and also staying away from the gluten's going to help, and this may help a lot of your inflammation problems that's going on. And I think that it is helping her. She's talked about how she's lost over 30 pounds.
The last time I saw her, she looks great. She feels great. She says that she's no longer suffering from things like brain fog, that her energy levels are high.
Yep.
Now, I will say that I have not seen a huge spike in my energy levels, probably because I'm not as strict in my program as you are. And I'm sure that it's also a matter of really getting my body to change into ketosis as a form of energy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she definitely does feel.
And I'm not into it
better.
as much as Alex is. I still have the occasional bit of sugar, like my tea tonight was sugar. But I make sure it's full of ice. That way I'm not consuming as much as I used to.
Well, it's like we talked about. He's down to 20 to 30 carbs a day usually, and you're down to around 50.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, we were talking about the regular American diet, which is 300 to 350 grams of carbohydrates a day. And when I first started the diet, I tried to go just 20 to 30 and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm now more aware of what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my mouth, what I'm putting in my body. But I'm still around 175 to 200 grams of carbs a day. For me, it will be a slower process just because I have small children, there's snack food and whatever else, life happens. So.
And for most people, when you look at your regular diet and whatever you're having, you're probably not doing things that are that terrible in your diet, but there's nothing wrong with consuming carbs. Some people go through it. Carbs are not the enemy. It just so happens that the most carb consumption that we get as Americans are processed carbs. Those are the enemy. So your simple carbohydrates, those are the ones that are really going to hurt you. Your sugared carbohydrates, those are the ones that really kind of hurt people. It has nothing to do with, if you eat natural bread that you make at home yourself, or if you eat natural pasta, that stuff is okay. But it's when you start to get the enriched flour, the white rice and the white pastas and things like that, and when you're consuming so many of them. Because this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and I listen to a great podcast called the Keto for Normies podcast. Keto for Normies is done by Matt and Mega, and they are the authors of the cookbook that you and I both love, Keto Made Easy. They have a fantastic podcast called Keto for Normies. And
shout out to Ketos for Normies.
Matt and Mega, you guys are incredible and your inspirations every day.
I've bought 3 of your cookbooks, by the way. 2 of them are for gifts, and one of them I use all the time.
And they're fantastic. But it's just one of those things where, when you're looking at the carbs that you're actually consuming, people are consuming the wrong types of carbs.
So I watched an excellent documentary on Netflix called The Magic Pill. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so what it's talking about and what he's talking about, the worst thing that you can consume, the worst thing that you can put into your body is high fructose corn syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to talking about how, as cavemen, of course, we were hunters. We were eating high fat, high protein, and our bodies, what they weren't burning, we're still converting things into carbohydrates to store for energy for when we didn't have food. Our brains do not recognize high fructose corn syrup as a nutrient.
Right.
Our brains don't know what to do with it, so they automatically convert it to fat for use later.
Right.
But if you're constantly pumping it into your face.
Well, and there's another Netflix show also called King Corn, which I've heard Joe Rogan talk about in his podcast, about how it talks about how corn has introduced the corn syrup craze, and they put it into all kinds of other foods.
Exactly.
For profit, obviously, but it's just another way of sweetening things so that they can increase their profits, but then all of that makes the American public fatter. You know, y'all are talking about the carbs that normal Americans eat. I actually have done the math, and I realized that I was consuming close to 600 carbs per day. When you take in the fact that I was eating, you know, I'm out delivering groceries, so I go to customers and they offer you a biscuit. Okay, well, I'm not going to say no to a biscuit, especially when you're at Joe Mama's Biscuit Shack and she's like, "You want some biscuits, baby?" Yes, I do. Thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate the biscuits you're going to give me. And you get the biscuits and you eat them. And then I was bringing a sandwich with me to work, and I realized that my sandwich has got 12 grams of carbs per slice of bread, and I got a piece of honey ham on there that's got 10 grams of carbs on it, and then I got Doritos in my bag that's 26 grams of carbs, and I got a Coca-Cola in my bag that's 46 grams of carbs, and I got a thing of tea in my bag that's 50 grams of carbs. And then I go to a place and they're like, hey sweetheart, we just made some pizza. You want some pizza? Yes, I love pizza, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much. Okay, let's just add another 100 grams of carbs on there. And then you go down the road and you get home and your wife's like, you know, I ain't got time to cook dinner. How about we just bring home some Zaxby's? Which I love Zaxby's. Don't get me wrong. They make some good stuff.
Great chicken.
But chicken with breader and fries. And then, of course, you're going to have a Coke with it.
Clearly.
So why not just add a couple hundred carbs on there? And then, hey,
really
I've worked hard all day. I could use a beer. I love Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. Hey, if you guys ever want to be a sponsor of the podcast, I would love to have you on there, and I'll start drinking Leinenkugels again because I love you guys. But anyway, Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. This is an unsolicited sponsorship. I just want to say I love you guys. Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. I don't know how many carbs in it, but I freaking love it. And of course, it's like Lay's potato chips. You can't have just one. You gotta have more than one. And then I'm looking at my carb content and I'm like, this is out of control. I'm like a train just running off the tracks, and I'm that guy at the helm going, yeah, baby, woo! And it's awful. And then you wake up the next day and you do it all over again. And you do it all over again and do it all over again. And then you start realizing, hey, wait a second, my 2X shirts aren't fitting very well anymore, and I can't wear my button-up shirts anymore. This is ridiculous.
I mean,
well, going back to that Keto for Normies podcast, they had a guy on there who is a extreme bodybuilder. His name is Jason Whitrock. He has his own podcast, and he's another great guy. He's a huge keto advocate for people to let them know, like, hey, you can work out and on high energy with keto. But one of the ways that he described carbs, especially carbs from sugars like high fructose corn syrup and things like that, is it might as well, as far as because they've done studies, and as far as the way that it affects the brain, it might as well be a drug.
Right.
Because if you have that high carb lunch at noon, the reason you're ready to eat again at 2 o'clock for something like Doritos or some unhealthy snack like a biscuit from Big Mama's Shack or whatever is because now your body is so accustomed to getting that drug, quote unquote, that 2 o'clock, I need it again. And your body tells you you're hungry. And so you have it again. And then you have it again. And then what was 200 carbs in a day, like you said, now becomes 600 to 650. And so, again, carbs are not the enemy, but when you're consuming the carbs like we have all been consuming all our lives, it becomes kind of an issue because all-cause mortality rates have been linked so highly to insulin rates in the body and the amount of carbs, specifically sugar carbs, that we're just pumping in because it's convenient.
Because, sugar.
And because, Doritos.
I mean,
popcorn.
My wife was just in here talking about how she loves Coca-Cola, and I love Coca-Cola. There's something about when you pour a Coca-Cola over ice, it's like, oh boy, this is gonna be good. And it is good. It tastes good. It's all the things your body wants. It's the fat and the sugar, all the stuff that you want, but it is not good for you. But anyway, we're trying to do better. We're trying to stay on task. We're trying to do the things that we need to do. And of course, now when I go to the store, I can't look at the shelves and not think of everything that has sugar in it as poison. And I talked to my dad about it because my dad's like, nah, I still like sugar. And I'm like, I get that.
I like sugar.
I like sugar too, but I mean, I have to curtail my sugar intake.
I think that that's the best thing about, especially knowing somebody like Alex who has been so successful with the keto program, is even if you're not willing to go completely cold turkey and cut yourself down to 20 to 30 carbs a day, it's really more about being aware of what you're... So as long as you're aware, okay, well, so maybe you will not be so strict, because I know personally I like carbohydrates. I want the potatoes and the pasta and the bread. I love all of those things. However, in the course of a day now, instead of having a sandwich and potato chips for lunch and then making dinner and having mashed potatoes, so, okay, well, today I'm going to have mashed potatoes. And that's it.
Yeah.
Right? I refuse to be the person who says, if I want something to eat, I'm going to eat it. But it's more about, for me, it's about being aware of how much of it I'm eating.
Right.
It's just recognizing, instead of blindly shoving food into your face, it's about taking a proactive approach to what you are using to fuel your body.
And if anybody is ever thinking about doing a diet like a keto or a Weight Watchers or a, what's that other big one, the 30, whatever,
paleo,
whatever diet you're considering doing, the things that I would ask you to consider first before cutting anything out, because a lot of people ask me all the time, like, what can I eat and what can't I eat on keto?
Right.
You can eat anything you want on keto, but you just are counting your macros. You're counting your macronutrients, your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates. You can eat anything you want. There's no eat this, don't eat this. There's none of that. Okay, there are certain diets that you have that, but there's none of that in keto. Keto isn't for everybody. But what I would ask people to do, if you're really interested in knowing what's going into your body, download something like MyFitnessPal. Start tracking your macronutrients, and not only track your macronutrients, but learn what a real serving size looks like. So many people don't know what a cup is, what 10 ounces looks like, what a tablespoon looks like, for goodness sakes. We think that because I have two spoon sizes in my drawer, one being a teaspoon, one being a tablespoon, theoretically, that if the serving size on peanut butter says a tablespoon, well, I take my tablespoon out of my drawer and I take a big scoop. That's not a tablespoon. There's a huge, that's like 3.5 tablespoons. And there's a huge difference. And when you're thinking in your mind, if you're not tracking that and you're not actually being honest with yourself about what is going into your body, like Brandy said, then you'll never make any changes. Yeah. You have to make that commitment.
And even, okay, so say, okay, I don't want to do keto. If you really can just learn to control your portions, I will be the first to admit, I have problems with impulse control. I mean, whatever, we all know.
No.
I know. Shocking. I know.
How many tattoos did we say she had?
No.
Again, with the impulse control and the obscene gestures.
Surely you jest.
But learning, okay, so when, for example, when you go to the store and you buy your paper plates, right? Because most Americans, they go in the don't buy the big ones, buy the small ones, right? The regular size plate.
Are so sturdy.
You can buy sturdy, smaller ones, but what I'm saying is when you get a huge plate, what do?
You fill it up.
You fill it up.
Yeah.
So there are, and these are things that I've tried to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, after I had kids, whatever, and I got complacent and lazy, let's not sugarcoat things. And I
might start now.
Right, well, my name's not Willy Wonka, it's not my job to sugarcoat shit. So
Hey, coin that phrase at 17 minutes and 55 seconds.
TM.
I'm not Willy Wonka. I'm not.
It's not my job to sugarcoat shit.
There you go.
So, and of course I blew up. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm as active as you feel like you are, as tired as you are. I'm probably really not that active. But over the last year, I have made efforts to monitor not so much what I'm eating, but how much of it I'm eating.
Portion control is everything.
So, and you and I were talking about this on the phone today. We were talking about Doritos, right? And you said with Doritos, I'm gonna sit down with the bag in my lap and I'm gonna eat 3/4 of the bag. Whereas with me, if I want Doritos, I go and get one of my kids' bowls, the small ones, and I put the chips in that. Right? And then I say, when this bowl is empty, that's it.
I've had to do that with peanuts.
I have to do that with just about everything.
Dry roasted peanuts. I could eat the whole thing.
Of course you could, because they're delicious.
Easily.
Yeah.
Especially the Planters ones.
Look, I made.
Listen, Planters, if you want to be an official sponsor of the podcast,
Let's listen in, man.
I love you guys. You're doing a great job with your dry roasted peanuts. I love dry roasted Planters peanuts. When I buy the thing like that, I've learned I put some in the cup in the top of it. Like you go through the top, put some in the top, and I set the thing back in the kitchen, and I'll eat the ones out of the top, but I'll make sure that I eat those ones and savor each one and lick on them and take the little toppings off.
Well, now he's
and then
the
when I'm done,
when
I'm done with the cap, I go, okay, that's all the peanuts you get today, and I put the cap back on and I put it up.
So
all right, so story time.
Okay.
So
story time.
Everybody, and it's more confession time, and I'm super ashamed of this.
Better.
But
secret time.
secret time. There we go.
First call the secret time.
So everybody that does any kind of a diet or any kind of a cutback, they have that one thing that like they gotta have, right? Or that they miss. So for me, it's nacho cheese Doritos. I literally could sit down after dinner and eat a family-sized bag of nacho cheese Doritos, and not feel bad about it because they're so good. Doritos, if you want to be an official.
Love you guys.
So anyway,
good job on the nacho cheese Doritos.
Because I am.
We know there's cocaine in it. Just
this is how we really.
That's a Heron chip.
So let's just but if you really, now that I have become fairly strict on this keto diet, like I haven't had any. I haven't had the first nacho cheese Dorito, and it is so sad.
Okay, hold on.
So, but here's the hard part about that whole thing is I have children, and my children are not keto. Now, my son is fairly keto. He's pretty close to being keto. He has the occasional yogurt, or he loves milk and things like that. But most of the time, he's baby Hulk. He eats whatever I eat, and but my daughter, she loves nacho cheese Doritos. So we buy the fun-sized bags, and she gets them for lunch, and with her peanut butter and jelly or whatever. So I happened to go upstairs to my movie room I was finished watching a movie that I didn't want the kids to watch, and Scarlett had been up there. I think I was watching Blade Runner 2049, and Scarlett had been up there watching something in the movie room, and so when I went up there, I was kind of cleaning up a little bit, and I noticed that she had left one of her fun-sized bag of nacho cheese Doritos, and I went to go throw it away, yet there were 3 uneaten chips in the bag. Now, also confession time, I did not eat those chips. But
I would have eaten those chips.
It's worse.
It's worse. So much worse.
So much worse.
I put the bag up to my face as if I was Molly Shannon from Superstar, smelling my own armpits, and I sniffed that bag for all of its gloriousness. And
not just once.
And not just once. 3 times I sniffed this bag. And what's bad about this? I am a professional. I feel very professional about my life, and I feel very in control of my life until that moment.
After you sniffed a bag of Doritos,
and after the 3rd sniff, I dropped the bag, and it was like everything around me had gone dark, and I didn't know what was going on. And I said to myself, "Oh God, who have I become? I'm sniffing bags of Doritos. This is the power that they have over me."
Can we get a T-shirt made?
Sniffing the power of Doritos.
Having a bad day, the back of it will say, "Well, I sniffed Doritos."
That would be a bad
We
idea.
should have a T-shirt.
That would be a bad idea.
Look, we can sell the T-shirts on the podcast, raise money.
Doritos is like a trademark thing.
Yeah.
By the way, again,
Can
Doritos,
we
if you
just
guys
put?
want to be a sponsor
Can we
of the
just put?
podcast.
I sniff bags of chips.
I sniff chips.
We'll get Alex off of his keto diet just so we can eat Doritos on Twitter.
Maybe I'll make that my new Twitter handle, @ISniffChips.
Yes. All the yes. All the yes.
Oh my gosh, this is getting carried away.
I'm sure there was a moment there where you thought, if I walk in on myself doing this, what do I look like? Sort of
Dude,
like
I would be more ashamed of that than somebody walking in on me masturbating.
I was so glad that no one came upstairs, and I immediately threw the bag away in shame.
It'd be like Smeagol on the Lord of the Rings.
It was super shameful, and I'm mortified that I have admitted that on a
But the
podcast.
first step.
Is it video? Alright, I don't know where it shut off, but we're going to keep doing this. Alright, I got a video portion of this that I just had to hit the button again, so my bad. But yeah, secret time. I know you guys have known this, but I haven't talked about it on the podcast. For years, when we did grocery shopping, we would buy Chips Ahoy cookies, and I thought they were for the kids. But apparently when the kids moved out of the house, I kept buying them and they kept getting gone. And I asked my wife, I said, when are the kids coming by and eating Chips Ahoy? And she goes, the kids never knew we had cookies. I said, excuse me? She goes, those are mine. And I was like,
For
oh.
me.
She goes, I need you to do the grocery shopping so I don't buy them anymore. Please help me save myself. I was like,
For me,
you got
it was going to the convenience store and getting my favorite candy bar and like a bag of cheese doodles and putting him in the bedside table being like, those are mine. And not telling anybody, be like, I have all the chocolate and the chips.
I never
Hell
had.
with you. Yeah, no,
I
I had a
had hidden
stash.
snacks.
Me neither.
I mean, when
I
I
had
lived in
stash.
when I was in college, I lived in the dorm. I had hidden snacks because your roommates will steal them. But like,
I didn't want to share with my children that, like, do you know how awful that makes me? Like, those
I
are
can hide it from
my
my wife. She's short. I just put it up real high. She'll never know it's here.
But, you know, with
But
my kids, I'm
Randy's
like,
kids are
don't
the same
go into
way
my
as
room and
us,
touch
so.
my stuff.
Right.
Mostly because I don't want them to find my snacks.
They go in the drawer. You're not worried about what they're gonna find.
They're not going to find anything horrendous.
Mom, you got cookies? You shut that drawer right now.
you don't
Those
ask
are the
questions.
boys. You don't ask questions about what's in the bedside drawer, okay?
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
That's a funny. That's like a movie scene. That's a total.
Yeah, they did that in that movie Heavyweights where they went to fat camp.
Really?
Yeah, they had hollowed out bedposts where they hid snacks.
Oh.
Oh my god, that's
I didn't see
Genius.
that. Note to self.
It's a great
Let's
90s
follow
movie.
out my
If you've
bedroom.
never seen the Heavyweights, it's a great 90s movie.
oh no, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it used to be on Netflix. Ben Stiller takes over this fat camp and he tries to turn it into like a fitness camp, and it's super funny.
He's as much as cock in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, he's made a
I'm
living
sorry,
with
I'm not
it.
supposed to say cock on
You
the
can say anything you
Well,
want.
now you've said it
Good.
twice.
Yeah, well,
This is not a family podcast.
oh good, because I don't have a family mouth.
Well, my mom fusses at me when I say the F word, but that's okay.
My mom-
No.
Fuss at me.
Mom fusses at me to tell you.
Well, at least you didn't
when he
get
uses
smacked
that
in the
word.
back of the head with a purse for saying damn it.
Mama, I appreciate the fact that you listen to my podcast, but this is my podcast. If you want your own podcast, I would be happy to start one for you, and you can do your own. And you can be a guest on mine, I can be a guest on yours, and we can build a community and all that stuff.
But you can't say words like cock on yours.
But you can't say the F word on yours because then people will judge you. Just saying. Alright, I'm going to hit pause here and we're going to reset.
Are we? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Because
you're
I'm fixing